Hello and welcome to Thought Provoking Tech. I'm Zach, and in this week's episode of Tech Tips, I am going to be discussing Microsoft Teams. So, Microsoft Teams is a very interesting app developed by Microsoft to kind of compete with Slack, which has kind of dominated that field of the business market. So, I kind of view Microsoft Teams as kind of the unification of a lot of the different Office 365 services and tools that they have out there on the market, which are quite handy, and it kind of unifies them all into a very nice next gen product. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So if you've used groups with my Office 365 or SharePoint, you'll see a lot of the features and the ideals of what those two different services combine, what they bring to the table, combined into a very unified service. So you have both conversations. You have files, so it's kind of like your libraries and SharePoints. You have wikis, which is another feature that you'll be used to from SharePoint. And there's a lot of different features, but it unifies it in a very kind of, and what I'm calling next generation, because it's kind of built for the business world of today, as opposed to like SharePoint. It's a little more old school. The user interface and everything is a little more clunky. This is definitely nice, clean, easy to access, and so much more. So I'm going to go ahead and start the demonstration of what actual Microsoft Teams is. This is just going to be a high-level look at. If you are interested in kind of learning more about Microsoft Teams over time, I probably will have multiple different videos on the different subcategories, because there is a lot to dig deeper into this. I've kind of set up a demo team as well as a demo channel, which we'll get to here in a second. But without further delay, let's go ahead and get right to it. All right, so as you can see here, I'm in the demo channel for my Thought Provoking Tech team. So let's go ahead and jump back a second. At the bottom left right here, you can see you can add a team. You can create a team here. You can name it whatever you want to. You can give it a description and either give it both private or public. If you are a user of Office 365 Business and have utilized the groups functionality, don't worry about having to try to migrate all that, because they have a nice little handy button here that says yes, add teams functionality. As long as you have less than 1,000 people in your group, which I'd be pretty impressed if you did have more than that, because wouldn't see a lot of huge enterprises adopting the groups functionality, because it wasn't really beta. It was a full feature, but it wasn't really kind of a fully fledged ideal. And I kind of see Microsoft Teams as kind of taking groups to 3 or 4 levels above where it was, and really truly designing a product that is really well thought out and definitely a full featured product. So, but if you did have some groups, and here's some groups I just messed around with and I played with in the past, you can see that I can quickly create my team and go from there. So I can choose one of those groups that I had, which I don't want to migrate over because they are just older groups, and I can go ahead and utilize those groups. So if you had a bunch of people added to a certain group, and that maybe you had a team built inside of your groups, you could just migrate that straight to the teams. I haven't done a lot of testing with that, so I don't know if like the files, because the Go groups essentially had a OneNote notebook automatically attached to them, and they had their own calendar, as well as having a file database that they could utilize, and they could actually have more OneNote notebooks inside that if they wanted to. But I don't know if all that stuff kind of migrates over, if you'd have to manually migrate that, but it does at least migrate the permissions of the different users inside of that group. So if you had Bob, Mary, and Joe, and Steve inside of your engineering division, and they're in that group, you can easily add them to a team with the same name, and without having to give them all the permissions. So if you did have a medium or larger size company that might have 50 people in a group, that would take a long time to migrate it all over, and they handled that quite well, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and jump to the first channel. Let's roll back a little bit farther. I'm getting a little bit ahead. Each team can have multiple different channels. So you can right click or click on the little triple dot menu, and you can actually go here and add channel. So you can have tons of different channels, and that would kind of depend on what your team is actually going to be utilizing the Microsoft Teams app for. So if you're more of a project-based team, you could actually have a different channel for each major project that you're working on, and that'll be pretty handy. And I'll get to why that would be handy in a second, because essentially you have tabs along the top of your channel, and you can make those tabs be very specific to what your project is working on. Or if you have different like sub teams and you wanted sub channels with under a major team, you can do that. So if you have a sales team built inside of Microsoft Teams, but you wanted to kind of have different divisions for possibly different regional areas, or different sales divisions inside of your company, you can easily make different channels for those, and you can kind of have a unified, like the default general channel that they create for all the different, all the people in your sales division to kind of communicate and work together and kind of push generic documents that correspond to everybody, maybe price lists or something along those lines. And then in your specific ones, you can have just ones that are only related to what your division is actually utilizing. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and roll back and go ahead and use my demo one, because I've set up a couple documents to kind of just give you a high level overview of what Teams is and not have to dig too deep into actually creating all the different content. So as you can see here, in the conversation tab, you can have multiple different conversations rolling at the same time. You can see here that I've made a comment called Hello World, a little one that I've tried mentioning the admin user, but I didn't actually add that person to the group, so it failed horribly. And say, hey, then I responded to myself saying, hey, he's not here. Then you can see there's a Word document that I've made in the Files tab, and I shared it with the team and said, hey, check this document out. So you can see that you can actually reply to different ones, different categories, and you can see that if it is a different person, it should show their different tag inside there. I don't know why it didn't there, but anyways, you can see that you can actually have nested conversations together. I definitely could see how this could get messy, especially with larger teams that are having a lot of different communications inside their channel, but I could definitely see why it could be useful at the same point in time. And that might be why where you have to have a lot of different channels to kind of narrow down larger teams to kind of contain them and keep things just organized. So let's go ahead and jump forward to the Files tab, and you can see here that I have made a demo Word document. One little nitpicky thing that I want to take out at the Teams app is actually the fact that you can't edit straight inside of Teams. This seems to be kind of a trend of Microsoft. There are certain apps that they don't really give you access to on the desktop really at all. For some reason, they're very supportive of giving OneNote access pretty much to everybody. You can actually download the fully fledged OneNote 2016 for free. Even if you just have an Outlook.com account, you can easily do that and utilize the fully fledged OneNote 2016. If I said Outlook 2016, sorry, I meant OneNote 2016 the first time. There are certain apps like their Outlook, their Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access that they're very restrictive of. And in fact, a lot of times you can't even, I don't think you can use Access in Office 365 Business at all on the online. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't take my word for that. But I know like the online versions of even Word, they're cut down, and Word, there's not a lot to it as opposed to compared to like OneNote, which has a ton of features on the desktop app, and the online apps are kind of cut down from that. I would have at least liked to see like Word Online built straight in here. Even the functionality of Word Online and Excel Online and PowerPoint Online would have been sufficient for the Microsoft Teams app, I believe. And just not having that at all is kind of annoying, because you do have to jump either to your desktop app or to your browser if you only have one of the cheaper plans that doesn't include desktop apps. So that's kind of annoying in its own regard. Creating new documents is fairly easy, though. You can actually upload any type of document that you would want to. You can also just create new Microsoft documents straight inside of the app. You can get new folders and so on and so forth. So it is pretty handy. It's a nice clean interface. But my biggest nitpick is that you can't edit these straight into the Microsoft Teams demo, which is sad, or not demo, but the Microsoft Teams app, because how they've unified all the other functionalities of SharePoint and OneNote and the Planner app and the files and conversations, kind of integrating all those different services. And then they kind of do Word, Excel, and like PowerPoint, kind of half baked. You kind of have them there, but they're more just, you can view them, but not really edit them. So that's the biggest nitpick that I have. And maybe they'll kind of cave and eventually give you like, well, at least the online versions of the apps built into the Microsoft Teams. I would like to note that the Microsoft Teams, you can download the desktop app with only the cheaper tiers that only generally have the cloud-based apps. So if you are one that utilize like the $5 plan, which for the most part gives you a terabyte of storage, as well as the online apps, email, as well as the desktop app for OneNote 2016, because that's free for everybody, you can download the Microsoft Teams desktop app. So if you kind of are the more don't really care about Word as much, and Word Online is enough for you, Excel Online is enough for your use cases, if you're not doing super complex stuff inside of Excel, and that's completely fine with you, then that cheap plan is going to be enough, and you can still download the Teams app, which I am very glad that they did that. So let's go ahead and jump to the wiki. I've gone ahead and populated this with just some sample information, just to kind of showcase once again that the user interface is quite handy. If you click this little menu here, you'll show all the pages and sections inside there. Whichever page you have active, it'll show the sections inside of there. And say these sections were longer, if you click on those sections, it'll actually jump straight to them. They're all just short, kind of, that is just essentially the section title. And I've actually put no data inside the content, but you know, let's just do a little bit of work real quick. Just kind of space these out maybe a little bit. All right. And I can go ahead and edit these real quick and show you how the content can go. It puts a nice little space between each section to kind of keep, once again, keeps that interface nice and clean, easily readable, no matter what. And you can see now I've got a little bit longer. I can actually click down section 3 and it'll bring me right to section 3. Now say when I go to my next page, and that's called Demo 2, it actually hides all the sections inside Demo 1. And that just kind of continues the thought process that these are nice, clean interface, and it doesn't have a, but if you have huge convoluted pages with 25 sections in them, and then you want to go to the next page, you don't have to see all 25 pages kind of up above it that are all kind of obscuring all the data you want to get to. It makes it nice and clean and easy to access what you're actually looking for. So I definitely love the wiki feature. I utilize it for data that I won't be really changing, more stuff that I want to set in stone per se, as opposed to a OneNote section that's integrated, which I'll get to in a second. Going back to the files that you can attach, even though you can't edit them, you can actually embed them straight here. So say you're working on a group and you have a weekly recap. You can actually put that weekly recap straight in here and pin it to as a tab so that people can view it. And so maybe that's your goals for the week, your project goals for that week. Maybe you have a quick write-up of what you want to do and achieve that week. People can continue to view that and kind of easily get access to it rather than have to go to files and then open it up. It's embedded right in here. Another cool feature is you can actually embed like web pages, and I'll get to kind of the other different features you can embed straight into here as a tab. And beyond that, there's other different integrations that aren't necessarily embedded tabs, but they could have bots and integrations in other ways that kind of input data into your conversations feed. That'll be something for another video, because there is a lot to those. There's a lot of details to cover, a lot of instructions to cover. It's really easy to use, but there is just a lot of data there to just pass along to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump to my demo OneNote. This is, if you're using OneNote, it's going to be pretty similar to what you'd see in OneNote Online. It is, or maybe even OneNote, the Windows 10 app, not OneNote 2016. It's cut back. It doesn't have all the features. There's some cool things that I'm really sad that are missing. For example, one of the biggest things that I use is page templates. Those are missing. But like I said, you can edit these straight in OneNote 2016. So if I hit edit in OneNote, I can actually open that in OneNote 2016 and have all those features still there, because OneNote 2016 is a completely free app for everybody. So that's one of the great things about it. So like one of the things that really I miss is tags. I don't have all my custom tags anymore when I'm straight inside of the Microsoft Teams app. I really wish they would kind of expand upon the functionality of this, because as I've been getting around to it, I've said a couple times now, having this unified experience and having it all integrated all into one place is super handy, but it is kind of kept back in a couple ways that kind of handicaps it in my personal opinion. So what I find myself personally doing is still opening these and editing these in OneNote 2016, but I'm not editing as much. I'm in essentially two different locations. And this does kind of simplify a lot of different things like the planner app that I'll get to in a little bit, and how that is a little bit more, it doesn't take too much longer to get to, but I just like how unified it all is integrated inside of the Teams app. So let's go ahead and jump to Planner. If you haven't used Planner, this is previously restricted just to online usage, and now you can actually utilize this in the Teams app. The Teams app is still kind of online. It's kind of a custom browser in a way, in the way that this all is actually not really synced to your computer. Like in OneNote 2016, if you open that section, all that data is actually going to be synced physically to your computer. You'll see on my connection, when I'm showing cases stuff, it takes a little while for stuff to actually appear, especially in ones where there actually is some data in them and not just completely blank. That's because it's all running straight from the internet. It's all streaming over. So with the Planner, if you've never used it, you can essentially have what they call buckets. These buckets, what you utilize them for would kind of depend on what you're using your team channel for. But say you're working on projects, this could be a project, and you can have another bucket for another project. You can utilize these tasks in multiple different ways. So you can see that this task actually has different sub-jobs. You can see that the person actually has completed 1 of 3 already, and they still have 2 left. So as you can quickly have a brief idea of what they've done. By clicking on the task, you can see a lot more data. You can see that job A has been crossed off and done. You can actually say that technically I haven't said I started that. So say since I do have job A done, let's say it's in progress. And you can utilize this as a project manager. There are definitely project managers out there that are a lot more detailed, a lot more complex, but it works pretty good for what I need it for, at least. And a lot of people I definitely probably envision will find it fits what their use cases would be quite well too. So instead of showing the checklist like I had shown to give like maybe my supervisor a quick view of what I have completed along those tasks, they can just quickly view through all the different main tasks and kind of see a decent progress of, or a quick update of kind of the status of these different projects. I can actually show a description. So the description right here is really handy if you're someone that wasn't really used to this. It says testing 1, 2, 3. But this description, at least you can populate that with whatever, like a brief description of what that actual project or what that actual task is aimed to complete, and you can showcase that right there, and it still at least shows you that you have 1 of the 3 items in your checklist completed. And another alternative is if you add an attachment that's like a PDF or a picture. If it's a PDF, it'll actually show like a thumbnail of the first page, so it's pretty handy there. You also have these labels over here that you can give a description to, as well as checking it off. And when I click on that, I don't really have to set it, but you can now see that it has that little pink dot, and you can utilize that however you see fit within your team. So let's go ahead and jump to one last little thing I wanted to talk about, which is the Add a Tab button. You can see I've already showcased some of the biggest ones, the ones that are more integrated straight into the SharePoint. So your SharePoint is essentially that Files tab. Then you have your Planner, which I was just showcasing, the OneNote section, and you can utilize more than one of these if you so wished. You can have multiple different planners that are completely separate. So say you wanted to have different planners in the same channel. You can have 3 or 4 or 5, however many different planners you wanted to. So you can actually have a planner for each member of that, team if you wanted to. If you're a smaller team and you had the room to do all that, you can pin a Word app like I showed you, a Word document like I showed you. You can also do that for PowerPoint and Excel. You can actually pin a website if you wanted to. If there's like a website, a sales portal that your salesmen use on a constant basis, you can actually pin that straight in here and have that portal right in here so they're still working in that same app. One thing with how unified everything is, I would love to be able to actually open another instance of Microsoft Teams, just because how handy it really is. I'd love to be able to open another instance. So normally you can right click and click on that and it'll open another instance. In the case of Teams, it doesn't do that. And there are a lot of apps out there that don't do that. But like my Microsoft Word, I can do the same thing, or sorry, Microsoft OneNote 2016, I can do the same thing, and that will actually open another instance of that app. So I wish the Teams app would let you do that. But as you can see here, there's tons of different integrations. Stream is a newer feature from Office 365 Video. So there's a lot of different things you can see here. There's Hootsuite integration, so that's like a social media kind of manager. If you're not aware of it, there's a lot of different stuff here that you can integrate, and this is one thing that I definitely see being expanded upon at a pretty rapid pace if Teams is adopted at a decent level that gets it kind of comparing somewhat to what Slack's user base is. And since it doesn't cost anything extra, I definitely see that as a strong possibility. Microsoft is really building a very, very big value bundle for what their product is. For just the $5 a month plan, which is what I have for my personal use case for my kind of YouTube videos and the different things that I work on kind of on my personal side projects away from work, the $5 plan gives me a ton. I have the full OneNote 2016 app because, like I've mentioned several times now, that's free to everybody. And I just can't say that enough because I just love OneNote so much for keeping track of information. It's great. I used to use Evernote, and then I moved to OneNote, and it's kind of a huge difference. It's so much deeper. So if you kind of like that simplified interface, I do recommend Evernote. But there is the OneNote Windows 10 app, which kind of reminds me more of what Evernote does. It's very simple. It's clean. There's not a lot of stuff there, but I just love all the features and the tools that OneNote 2016 gives you. But going back to what Microsoft Teams is the integrations and everything that it brings to the table are pretty massive. And I definitely think that these integrations and the value that they add will really push the Teams app up to what Slack is kind of at. And like I was saying, with the value of the $5 plan, you have a terabyte of data. Just viewing that against like Dropbox and other services, with adding that and having the full functionality of having a terabyte and having the Word online apps, essentially is making a very strong use case for only $60 a year. You have a lot of stuff there that you get access to. So they're really building a huge value proposition for moving to a OneNote or Office 365 business subscription, even on the low tiers, especially if you have a more mobile workforce or one that is more comfortable working with the web apps and don't really need the depth of the desktop Excel, Word, and PowerPoint apps. You can really start utilizing the power of Office 365 for not a huge cost. And Microsoft Teams kind of brings all those different functionalities and tools into one unified package. And I know I said that several times now, but that's the main point I wanted to get across with this video. I didn't want to dive too deep into how to utilize a bunch of different features. I just wanted to kind of give you a vision of what is possible with Teams and how that unified feature set could really make your business flow really expand upon that and be very useful in your daily business lives. So I hope you found this video informative and maybe it's a little bit entertaining too. I hope it was an enjoyable video at the very least and that you did learn something. If you did, make sure you give it a big like. It helps the video in general and the channel as a whole, and I greatly appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you feel free to hit me up in the comments below in YouTube or just tweet me at Provoking Tech. You can see that in the little webcam overlay up there. I can reach you back at either one of those. I definitely am interested in hearing what you might use Teams for, what your thoughts are. If you have further questions for a future video, let me know there and I'll make sure I cover those points. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you did like it, make sure you liked it as I just said, and subscribe to stay tuned for more great videos from Thought Provoking Tech. Once again, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, Zach out.